How's everybody? Does it feel
I'm
like April?
really glad to be here. I've spent the last 33 hours trying to get from LA to lovely Waldoboro, Maine.
Oh my God, really? Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'm super happy to be here and to see all of you and to be thinking about the annual report, the minutes, and our fair city.
All right. So we have one, two, three, four, five, six today. Um, any other adjustments to the agenda from anybody? Okay, it's good. No citizens. We have a beautiful set of minutes.
Yes, I very much like
Did
it.
I change the date on them? Does it have the right date?
It says March 18th, 2025,
Okay,
6 p.m.
just making sure.
Yeah, so that's accurate. This looks really great to me. It's very helpful to see this laid out. I move to enter these into the record.
Second,
All right. All four. And one abstention. All right. Entered. In the chair report section, I just wanted to go back to Melissa Hunnebel's project. Melissa spoke to the EDC last meeting about a map that she wanted to create. And in the last couple of weeks, we put her in touch with the other folks who are doing this. Rebecca has also been involved in kind of laying out the various efforts at creating maps, either for businesses, for visitors, or for people who are looking for cultural amenities in the area, kind of cultural maps as well. So she's now in touch with some other people who are doing this, and there's some progress on that front.
oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Networking, everybody. So that's all I had about that item. What do you have for us, Mr. Johnstone?
Planning board meeting is probably going to be moved to April 24th. That'll be a joint application with Warren for a subdivision that's happening on Fintown Road. Just the,
Excuse me, we're on Fintown Road, Max.
it's right on the Warren line.
So it's out toward Route 1.
Yes,
Okay.
but I can show you the map afterwards. So it's planned to be maybe a 4-lot subdivision, nothing too special.
That was sort of what I was wondering, is whether it was going to be like 6 homes, which I'm not saying it would be bad. It just would kind of, I ride my bicycle down Fintown. And,
Right. The plan's just for, I just met with the owner today. The plan was, despite being able to build that many, they would like to try and keep it as rural as possible, and so they thought 4 was a nice compromise. I was told that the VRF system, the HVAC VRF system is officially done, and I put in the request to the folks up at the governor's office so we can get our $50,000 reimbursement. So that'd be nice.
Yes.
I think in total this was about 291,000. So, or no, that's 391,000. Big difference. And that was about $80,000 of grants and rebates. So that's about 300,000 the town spent for getting this system upgraded. And I've already liked it.
Good investment, though.
We are still the second round that we put in a request for, so we can get LED lighting and installation. That has been delayed because there are so many requests. So I haven't been told I have been rejected yet. So I'm holding out hope. Speaking of which, our Northern Borders pre-application was accepted. So that's a good first step. That's to do a booster station in the downtown so we can be ready for future expansions for the water system. And on that note, the congressional directed spending, which is the earmark funding I always like for the last 3 years, the portals have opened, so I'll be putting in requests to Senator Collins and King's office. I'll have to put back in a request for an ambulance since that did not officially get approved, since Congress did not pass a budget. I'll also be putting in requests after talking with Julie, I'll put in one request for the booster station as well, so that we don't have to get a loan or use any town funds. We can just use grant money to solve that whole thing.
Mhm.
I'll also put one in if it's eligible for the Sylvania Site Park redevelopment efforts. So that would be great if we could get all three. I say it every time, it all depends on Congress passing a budget. And then,
And I can see how the booster station is kind of the biggest bottleneck for Waldeboro at this point.
it certainly would help. And if it's not done, trying to do an expansion, trying to do the water extension at the top of the hill would be very difficult if
Yeah.
I don't have the booster station. I also have been working on the Yellow Book appraisals so that we can apply for land water conservation funds in June for, again, the Sylvania Park redevelopment project. Next week, I believe the select board will be reviewing the warrant article items. I have 3 items, one for just amending the ordinance, land use ordinance, so that we can have more allowed uses in the area. The downtown master plan, which we'll talk about, that will go before the warrant as well. And I do have one for amending the TIF district for Volunteers of America project. They did ask for a credit enhancement so they could get a percentage of taxes back. This would replace the in lieu of tax payment agreement that was already done with the select board. We would actually get maybe twice as much back than what was originally agreed upon if we go through this process.
How does that process work?
The credit enhancement. So because it's already in the TIF district, 100% of the tax revenue is sheltered. State doesn't touch that at all. And a percentage of that would go back to Volunteers of America for their project to keep it as an affordable housing project.
Until completion or for the life?
They asked for a 15-year term.
15 years.
15-year term, yeah. So, I mean, for the so I think the TIF has been out for 5 years at this point. So if the project was done next year, that means we'd have about 8 years where we'd get the full revenue from their taxes. They wouldn't have that reduction anymore. But from what was already agreed upon with the select board, they already weren't going to be paying any of the taxes. It was just going to be a $5,000 payment instead. So this is them being able to give us almost $10,000 instead, and being able to score a lot better with the programs they're going after. So it's a good opportunity, and it's something that I'm gonna actually have to send out to the select board probably after this meeting, because I only just finished the warrant article language.
Okay.
And I have to explain it all. But yeah,
So it's kind of convoluted, but it's good for the town, it's good for Volunteers of America.
well, I'm not gonna say it's good or not, but I am gonna say it's like the deal that we've already had, but we get twice as much back.
Okay.
Take with that as you will. I'm drawing a blank. I think that's all I really have for now. And I think that's it.
All right. All right, let's just go over this annual report one more time and just confirm when we should present it. I
Yes.
think. When is the next select board meeting?
Next Tuesday.
Okay.
I thought it had been, I'm sorry, excuse me, I thought it had been postponed.
Has it been postponed?
I thought I heard somebody say it was April 20th or something,
That's
but
on the 8th of this month.
it's on the 8th.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And whether we meet or 5 or
20th.
6 depends on
Hmm.
what's on the agenda.
Got it.
So if that makes sense to everybody, I'll talk to Julie and you about putting this on the agenda.
Mhm. Just an email to Julie and maybe Pam, the town clerk, to say, is it possible I can be on the agenda?
All right. So I'll follow up on that.
Comments, revisions, corrections, changes, please. I tried to absorb everything from the very helpful comments at the last meeting, but I may very well have missed some stuff or recast some stuff, so if people haven't had a chance to review it, but could get in touch with me by the end of this week, that would be terrific.
Great. That's straightforward. And do you want to, I mean, I'll go to the meeting on Tuesday and present, but do you want to also present? How do you feel?
I'm perfectly happy. I think it's helpful when somebody who's written it is there.
Yeah.
In case they ask questions, just because I framed something in a different way, or they have questions about it, happy to go.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything that day, but usually Tuesday nights. I should be able to do it.
Okay.
I can move it if
I have a question, Ian. Is the document that's in our Dropbox that you put in March, have you made any changes to that?
It was sent out. I realized I think I was waiting for people's comments before I uploaded it.
Okay,
So,
so this
sent-
document was sent out, or did you send out something with changes?
this one is actually the one that we're working on now is, yes, substantial changes just in the verbiage and using Sonia's excellent suggestion of ordering things in what seemed to be priority or urgency or ease of completion. It's called 2024_EDC annual report _draft.
I'm putting that into the Dropbox for
Okay,
the days
that's
meeting.
great. If you put it in,
So
then
that-
Okay,
I'm
super.
not-
Thank you, Conrad.
Yeah.
Also, one thing people may want to comment on is hey, Alec, the people, the actual composition of the EDC. Because right now, I have it as Bob, Alec, in alphabetical order. Bob, Alec, Max, ex officio. Bob is ex officio, or are you? Okay. Me, Ruben, Jen, Sonia, Jan. Did you like Jan or Jan?
Jan's fine.
Jan, okay. And Conrad.
Yeah.
And
That's
then do we
correct.
need to sign it? What's the proper way to,
For this report,
yeah,
probably just a simple motion is all that's needed for the minutes here.
Okay.
okay.
Like
Alright,
if this
but-
is
But when we submit it to the
select board,
select board, should it be respectfully submitted? Conrad on behalf of the EDC or?
yeah, you could do that, just so that, unless you all want to sign it. But
Yeah.
but other than that, it would just be a motion to have Conrad submit it for this committee.
Is there a motion?
I think I would move pending any last minute changes. And if it's a major thing, like, and you forgot to put in our plan to have an elephant pastured on the town hall lawn,
Then we would need to revisit.
we would need to revisit it. But if it's just, corrections of fact, I don't see people need to see it again.
African or Asian elephant,
You bet.
Asian fit.
Asian fit.
So, yeah, so I would move that pending any minor last minute changes that we would approve this.
I second that.
So moved.
Okay.
All right,
With all those caveats.
All right, yes.
All
So,
those in favor?
Well, I don't want anybody to feel like they're being railroaded.
Alec, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Jen, I take it that hand up means
All right.
yes. Or is that a discussion?
Nope, that was a yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we have a unanimous vote to approve the motion. We will submit this report next Tuesday.
That's a job, nicely done.
Yeah. All right, so the next point is the downtown revitalization plan. Any additional comments that people have from the last meeting between then and now? Or anything that people would like to discuss about the downtown master plan amendments?
I have a question, Max.
Yep.
I know, I know you dug deep to see. I could swear we actually voted on the slum and blight part.
I I've asked DECD if they had any files. They don't.
They don't have it? Okay, because I know we had big discussions on that.
And that was a big park that was mentioned many times in the downtown master plan, but
Yeah.
I couldn't find it unless unless you know the year, I can double check it, but
It would have had to, based on the dates, on the action items, it would have had to have been in June 2012, I would think, because all of those things were up through November, I think, of 2011, if I remember reading whatever, but
Or if I have a copy of the 2012 warrant.
Mhm.
And it's not in there.
it's
Uh-huh.
not in there. Okay. Then we have to, and it actually might be better that, because you said you wanted to add some space or something into that, some,
I wasn't planning on adding any buildings into the Slum and Blight. It was more of just the downtown boundary in general, just adding
Yeah.
some of the town parcels.
okay.
But
That would
the
make
Slum-
it, that would make it, so that the money that you're applying for could be used in those areas if needed. Yep.
Yeah, I would be hoping to apply for community development block grant downtown revitalization grants, and usually we score. Supposedly we score better if we have this, so
Yeah.
Hmm.
I would like to have that.
I want to address Sonia's question. You had a comment about slum and blight designation.
Yeah, there's no definition of what it is.
In Appendix 3 on page 62, there is a slum and blight designation process description, and it
Page
defines
62.
page 62 of 128. Page 62. It says Appendix 3.
The picture on page 62, so maybe on 63.
There are numbers at the bottom.
If you go to the appendix, right, so I'm looking at 62, 63, 62.
It's on the numbers that are actually in the document, which are the bottom right of every page. You see numbers. It's appendix.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in this section, there is a definition given here. A, B, area in which there's a predominance of buildings or improvements which are conducive to ill health, etc. An area which is a menace to public health, safety, morals, or welfare in its present condition, and it gives a few points. So your point here is that when you have this and you bring this information together, it makes us more eligible for the kind of funding.
Yeah,
that
I
we're
mean,
seeking.
the Slum and Blight was more of just a project or a strategy that was decided back in 2011. And I think that focus was because of the back of the buildings that are along the Worcester parking lot. The goal was more facade improvements. We can still apply with that in mind, but just for example, 80 Grave, that was designated for slum and blight just because there was some hazardous materials already there, and that allowed us to actually allowed us to score better to get the funding to demolish the building at no cost to the town. So
That was the whole strategy for the slum and blight designation.
for the downtown.
Yeah, was part of being able to be eligible for more funds from different sources. And it was make a stronger presentation, a stronger, more competitive application.
And there's no real negative downside other than just a label. I mean, if I could call all of Waldeboro slum and blight, it's a hurtful thing to hear, but it does still open up some categories for funding.
Yeah, and the other
But I'm
thing
not going to
too-
do that for Waldeboro. Just
No,
keep
and
that-
the other thing too that you're doing is basically with the funds, you're solving that area of slum and blight. You're upgrading it. So that's the whole point.
And the larger picture here is to say to the state of Maine and to national bodies that this is an underinvested area in Mid-Coast Maine.
Yep.
And we deserve more funding than other places in Mid-Coast Maine. That's kind of the point, the big picture, right?
Or cleaning up is the overall theme when we're talking slum and blight. We want to clean it up and give it a new life. That's it.
And it also would mean, it means to me that we're willing to look at it at the town and say, this needs to get corrected. And so we're willing to basically bite the bullet, admit that it's not up to the standards we'd like it to be, and ask for help to take it there.
Right. And keep in mind, just because we have that outlined in the downtown master plan, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's just something that we can work towards, and we can always get some funding to address that. It's like the historic designation that's in here.
Mhm.
I believe, Jen can correct me. I think that was something that was pursued, but initially got a little pushback because people thought there were gonna be a lot of
Yeah.
standards that would prevent, and businesses weren't interested at the time. But we'll leave it in there in case there's this renewed interest 10 years later to try and have a historic designation so that Waldeboro could.
So and remember too, Max, that it doesn't automatically target any specific buildings.
Right.
The owners of the buildings have to agree that they want their building as part of it. All it does is it gives you an area that says this is a historic district. And then people can decide to opt into that if they want to take advantage of tax credits or whatever, or not.
Mhm.
It's just it's something that's like a basket holding the area.
So, Sonia?
Yeah, how, when they do the plan and you're coming up with the ideas and what you wanna target, how locked in are you to that? In what sense? Because I'm looking at, we've been thinking about, you've had us thinking about the development, and I've been looking at Rockport.
Mhm,
Very similar to Waldeboro
mhm.
in some sense, because Route 1 commercial corridor. Right, it's a little more, excuse me,
Yeah,
I had a dental visit.
Oh, okay.
So, but it has, and then the town, but you can't see the water or the harbor unless you're right downtown.
Mhm.
You have to go over a bridge like we do in Waldeboro. In Waldeboro, you can't really see, and it doesn't have the same harbor and views even when you do see it. Right, so I would think we'd wanna focus on the public landing,
Mhm.
upgrading the bridge, making it more walkable, and I was wondering on the public landing, what's the land between that and the bridge? Is that town property or private?
That might be
private.
that might be a long conversation, but
Oh,
it's might be
well-
worth getting
Well,
into.
We talked about that at the last meeting.
it was touched on, and I can include that land. I just had the landing because I think some people still have it, but I probably should actually include that private land anyways, just because it's a more fitting connection, really.
Well,
and-
not to go too detailed, but I was thinking the focus should be more on the public landing
Right.
and behind the buildings in the parking lot.
Right,
Cause you can create the views there better than you can downtown.
Yeah, that's right.
That's,
type
think that's
thing.
right.
And so I
Yeah.
think that should be in the plan versus, cause you can't really put trees downtown. You really can't. There's not enough room. You could probably upgrade the sidewalks
That's
type of thing and then help them with some facade work if they wanted, but I would not. In the plan, want to invest a lot of money in the downtown street, just basic, try to do something with the Knox building, cause it looks very bad, something to do with the facade to make it more. Softer, more welcoming and stuff like that. They have that walkway and they have benches underneath, maybe do something with awnings or. Something like that, but not getting too detailed, and I would try to focus on beautifying Route 1. More trees along the Route 1 corridor.
so that would
That-
probably be a different plan to talk about. This
'Cause
would,
it's not the downtown, right?
right,
Okay,
this,
yeah.
this was just strictly the downtown area.
Yeah.
That's not to say we can't do a Route 1 development plan. That would be a great one to do as
Well,
well.
that was the plan I was talking about originally, which was your entrance from off of Route 1 onto 1A. South, coming into town, north.
Yeah.
And then there's not much there to do other than just straighten it out and put that one of those nice signs which is agreed upon.
Yeah, and I
And then, and then that done, the only next thing is really when you start coming down that hill past, the Sire Hill. And you look down and that's where that picks up from where you were just talking.
So
Yeah.
it sounds
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the two strategies I could add in add in here would be one, well, 3 projects. One would be about improving the view from the downtown,
Mhm.
from the river, making a better walkability that would connect the Worcester parking lot and the Pine Street landing. I think
That's
those were the
good.
2 you were getting at,
Yeah.
Sonia. And then for Alec, adding an entrance plan slash, or an adding something in there about funding or improvements for an entrance plan and implementation from the Route 1 area, whether it's from the top of the hill going towards Noblesboro, the one going from Warren, or even just down here, just funding so that we can work on a entrance plan to the downtown.
And to initiate our sign plan.
Yeah, I mean, but
The sign I thought the signs were already in there.
that was part of the plan, yes.
Yeah.
They had
It
sample
might be,
signs
yeah.
and everything, yeah. But
Sort of trying to.
I mean, just zooming out again, I think what we're trying to see is that this is one piece.
Right.
And what you're alluding to in terms of beautification of Route 1 is another piece. And we need
Yeah.
to see how they all fit together here, so.
But I
Well, that's
think-
one spot
right,
they
and I-
have
Yeah.
that-
And it's fine to still talk about the projects, and I think if everyone agrees, those do sound like 3 great projects that we could still include. It's not written in stone, we can still make some amendments, so.
No, I think that's
But I think
great.
those 3 would be the good ones, so that can be sort of the ironic sort of leeway to gets to doing a Route 1 to Village Plan.
Mhm.
Or, yeah. Alec?
Yeah, I walked all around down there. And, was wondering, down below the parking area, Worcester's parking area, that's Freddie Store's, land, I think.
Yep.
Has anybody talked with him about having a store or park there?
Oh, boy.
It's flat land, it's just, it's a little bit above really high tide.
It's been explored. It's kind of been held off until there's actually been something happening with the Worcester parking lot. I think that's kind of been the focus initially.
Who's approaching you?
We could talk about that after the meeting.
That'd probably be a very good idea, sorry.
So aside from adding these projects in, we had a few, Anne had some comments, wording type
Mhm.
thing, little notes here and there. Any other? Anything
I
to
think it's
say
really
about it?
exciting that we're moving it forward.
Well, and again, for this downtown master plan, part of having it approved at the town meeting is just so. One, I can actually get some grant funding and
Yeah.
create a downtown TIF with it. But 2, it's a great way of getting it back and fresh into people's minds. And there is one strategy baked in there to try and amend this at least every 2 years, just so this isn't staying dormant again for another 10 years. It's a chance for people to still come together. Hopefully the EDC can do some additional public outreach. I'm hoping we can do annual downtown forums so we can get some ideas from the public as well. So that's the hope for it.
So we have sort of a bifecta going on, which is the park.
Mhm.
And this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We
I
have a
would,
Trifecta anywhere?
I would just, I'm a
one.
bifecta, it's good. I would
Cool.
just, I would just also suggest that once this goes on to the ballot, either before or after town meeting,
Mhm.
that you want to organize these forums. That's gonna be important
Yes.
going forward. But it'd be nice to be able to have, if somebody wants a written copy of this, to get that. But also, it's a large document, and it would be useful, I think, to be able to produce like a 2 or 3 pager. It's a high level overview of what this means,
Mhm.
downtown master plan, with a couple images,
Mhm.
just giving us a high level idea of what's going on here. And it'd be useful to bring that to folks in communicating.
So even sort of a summary of the executive summary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this document has so much going on, but like to, Sonia's point earlier, like navigating down to find the appendix, it's a lot. So it's nice to have also a
Right.
2-pager or something.
Easier summary, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have some food pantry
Oh, food pantry.
statistics that we should
Sure.
talk about.
Always. I don't have today's numbers, but here's some so I do have March 18th. So March 18th, which was the last distribution, 165 households and 429 people. But I also have a first quarter comparison of 2024 to 2025, which might be interesting. So in 2024, in the first quarter, we had an average of 153 households and 380 people. Okay. The average for the first quarter of 2025 is 176.
Oh, my word.
So we went from 153 to 176 average for the first quarter, and 456 individuals. So we've had
How do you know that
six.
stuff's accurate?
What's that?
How do you know that's accurate?
How
The data.
do I know it's accurate? Because we actually count the number of people.
Yes, I created it.
So, we're seeing again, another year-over-year significant increase, about 15%. So the other kind of interesting news is that obviously we get a lot of our food is paid for through federal subsidies, and those are being cut. And believe it or not, we are seeing an impact at the food pantry level of those cuts. And so, we're going to be challenged to try to determine how we can offset that that increase in costs to the pantry. And our decision is going to be: do we spend more money, try to raise more capital, or do we reduce the amount of food we give our clients? So those are the tough decisions that our board has to make right now.
Maybe look at giving them different kinds of food. Like at the embassy in Zaire, they gave the employees weekly bags, and it was rice flour. Let's see, rice flour, manioc, powdered manioc or potatoes. Basic supplements to supplement a regular diet, like
Right.
if they got meat or whatever they ate. But it was enough, depending if they had a family, they give them extra for family.
Yep.
I mean, some to supplement what they have to purchase from a grocery store.
Yep.
And it'll probably go farther.
Yeah. I mean, these are all,
Yeah,
The-
that's what
the-
they
I
do
mean-
in those refugee camps. They can't possibly give them a full menu.
right.
So a lot of them are in bad condition, so they're very careful about that's why you get that bowl of noodles, but it's a nutritious thing.
So I agree with that. I mean, we've worked unbelievably hard to make sure that the food we're distributing is high quality, has fresh produce, has milk and eggs and bread and like kind of the staples. And so we've worked really hard to build kind of a good menu of food that we distribute. And it's unbelievably difficult to have to shrink that again, almost back to the way it was when it was government cheese and things like that, canned pork, stuff like that. So it's a challenge. Yeah, Bob.
The increase. Do you know whether that's occurred because you're doing a much better job talking about the food pantry?
Getting the word out.
Yes, or because we have a bigger problem?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I think it's probably a combination of both. I think it definitely we have a bigger problem, and probably we're getting the word out in a good way. That we're a safe landing spot for people in need.
And something that I've heard various folks associated with the food pantry say is the goal is to reduce the stigma.
Yeah, 100%. So we want it to be, we treat all our clients with respect. There's no judgment. It's kind of a safe haven for our clients.
And Jen's got her hand up.
Yeah, Jen.
Do you know what categories of funding were cut, Jan, that are there specific types
Yeah,
of food?
right.
that you-
And we actually posted on Facebook and I don't have that post here, but you know, Good Shepherd was impacted in a big way. And also the, I think it's called, Veggies to Table,
Yeah,
Yeah.
farm, the
was
farm
impacted.
to,
literally cut. I mean, their
Yeah.
funding was literally cut.
and I
So-
was, do you know how long this, I mean, is it just, do you just think it'll come back, or do you think this is it for the year, or, you know,
I'm guessing
For a
4
while.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a while.
and that, think about it, you guys, that not only impacts the food pantry, it impacts the farms that had the contracts that were supplying the food pantry, also. And also, if you guys had heard, farm to school has been cut, or it was cut. I'm not sure if they pulled it back or not, who knows? But there's another huge contracts that our farms have to fill the state,
Yeah.
as well as the kids having some healthy food. So I think Jen's right. We have to think ahead, like we're not gonna be getting help like that.
Yeah.
For a while.
figure out ways for these communities such as Waldeboro to become more resilient, more reliant on networks in the area and economic activity that's generated locally.
Maybe gardening, you know, maybe
I would love to see more.
teaching people to garden, and it's not easy, but you can do a lot with containers now.
Which, by the way, just referring to Sylvania Committee is something that's come up quite a lot, is how to combine, say the food pantry is in the area.
Yeah.
Food pantry activities with community garden activities, food education initiatives. So these things have come up a number of times in regards to Sylvania
One
site.
other avenue would be food preservation. So
Oh.
to get over the winter months.
Canning
what you're
vegetables.
producing in
Canning.
the summer.
Well, the other thing I was wondering, sorry, is there any kind of program that helps people learn to cook?
Ha. So, as everybody knows, we're in the board at the pantries in the kind of process of looking for a new location. And we've talked about Sylvania, and we're actually going to reach out to the town and see if anybody could donate land or property for our reasons, but our purpose. But one of the things for sure that we've talked about is, you know, should we have a kitchen in our new building, and should we look at, you know, helping to teach? Well, a couple of things. One is we could prepare food. So instead of food spoiling, we could actually use it to prepare meals and freeze them and distribute at the next distribution. So it's a utilization of available foods, but also to teach our clients. When you get all this stuff, what do you do with it? Here's how you can make a wonderful pasta dish, or here's how you can make a vegetables stir fry or whatever. So yeah, we're thinking of, we haven't made a decision, but we're certainly thinking about, is that a good idea?
That's something coordinated with the Y, which already teaches cooking
Uh,
to kids and adults. They've got courses over there. So there you have some synergy.
Synergy there,
already.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yep.
there are some.
I think the
churches-
Rising Tide at one point, they had a kitchen upstairs that they used for that over in Damascotta, and I think there was a nonprofit group that sort of peeled off that. And I can't remember what happened to them, to be honest, but they were doing just that. They were teaching people to cook,
Would that
basically.
be healthy roots, Jen?
Say that again?
Would that be healthy roots or hearty roots or?
It wasn't at the time, but you know, things evolve. No, and during COVID, Lincoln County did a fantastic job of pulling together all of the food organizations in Lincoln County who worked really hard during COVID too. So there's a lot of people maybe around who were part of that. So who knows, maybe we'll end up doing that stuff again.
Yeah, grassroots.
Yeah. I don't know how else we're gonna get through the 4 years, but
That's all I have.
Yeah. So Sonya's got her hand up.
Well, no, more comment for us. Thinking you mentioned the park at Sylvania. type thing.
Mhm.
Like the British always have allotments and people can sign up and grow their food, so there's people who don't have access to property to grow food, you might wanna consider that, make
Yeah.
it more functional, and is it also an industrial park?
So yeah, with the Sylvania, when we're talking gardens, it's not, we're not digging right into the ground, it's more of a raised garden bed. That's what would have to be allowed.
Right on top of clay.
Yeah, that'd work too, but.
Yeah.
Is it also zoned for industrial, like 1A?
It's zoned industrial, but a zoning district can change easily, so it's. I mean, it was zoned industrial back in 2005 when it still potentially could be used for industrial uses, but that was also 20 years ago before it all was shut down and demolished and everything else, so.
You know, I was just wondering, cause I was thinking the town needs like a medium to large size business, not a,
Mm.
like a smelting plant, but like maybe some kind of prefabrication site or something that allows for employment of lower skilled individuals, cause there's a lot of lower skilled individuals in the town.
Right.
But it's more job opportunities without having to drive all the way down to Portland or to Brunswick or, you know, cause most of the stuff around here is restaurants or
Right.
small businesses where you're, or a hotel
Well,
where you're receptionist.
I will. No, sorry, you were.
Well, to your point about industrial opportunities in Waldeboro, we have the park on the north side of Waldeboro, and there's that skinny little lot which was so unmanageable. It's been for sale for a long time along the railroad tracks,
North Noble, yep.
right?
Yep.
Looks like it used to be fish hatching.
And there was an issue about the zoning that prevented somebody from making use of that lot because of the
Yeah.
setbacks, and that may
Yeah.
change, so.
Yeah, that's part of the ordinance changes. We're hoping to reduce those setbacks from 150 feet from the road to just 75 feet so that you could actually put something there now.
And there's already,
Yeah.
there's kind of a critical mass of businesses there and potential to make use of the railroad tracks going forward, and so that's.
Who owns that land?
That, this little triangle lot? that
Yeah.
was-
Chapman, I believe, Samuel Chapman, I think,
No, I was thinking the old fish farm or whatever that.
on North Noble Road,
Yeah.
yeah. Sam Chapman, yeah.
Can I just mention something?
Yeah.
One of the businesses coming to town is North Country.
I was
Windmill.
about to say,
It's specifically going to have jobs that are sort of a stepping stone for people to learn welding or something, because it's just a small part of the bell that needs to be welded. So they're actually making a considerable effort to train people for better jobs, and that'll be right here in town. So that's a plus, and that should be coming here. So
They've got some great information online about, they can do powder coating, metal cutting and so on, so that's something to look into.
yeah, their plan was to move here by at least September of this year. So that would be
It's North Country Bills.
North Country Wind Bells.
And they will be putting money back into the community. Through like the clothing closet, and right now they house the pantry, but it's not big enough, you know,
Right.
stuff like that. But anyway, they do a lot of good.
It's Ron and Peggy Davis are doing the business.
Yeah,
And I'm looking at that building, like if you go past Hanford and you're looking at the baseball field and Miller School's on the other side. That white one.
Talked about that a lot.
yeah, I,
Kryptonite.
oh, trust me,
Not for sale.
We
I
talked
have-
about that a lot.
I have pleaded with that owner many times, offered grant funding, a lot of things, and it's been no's nonstop. Apparently there's an agreement with, well, I won't say too much just because of public.
Is he doing anything in there or?
We'll talk about it.
It's,
We can
it's
talk
gonna
about
be,
this.
it's just gonna be repaired in time. It's very similar to the button factory where it's just privately gonna be slowly fixed over time. That's really it.
Someone who doesn't want help.
Privately owned.
Privately owned.
Okay, so there was one point that I forgot to bring up in my chair report, which is that I spoke to Cindy today, and she's gonna have the sandwich boards for the public to weigh in on next week. So that'll sync up
Awesome.
with our little presentation to the select board. We can talk about that going to the public for input. So that's it for most of the agenda. We had one more comment from Sonia.
Yeah, I didn't like the presentation that she presented. It was it was like a 5-year-old did it or something. You know, I mean, I didn't see any exploration of the ideas that we've been talking about over the months. In fact, I went and downloaded offline, found a clam, open clam, put the ship in it and then the waves. That's a simple sketch, took me 5 minutes, but instead we were given a lump of concrete on a box, on a stick. Like the bad shape of the sign could have been something, it could have just been square, and you add the clam to it. That's just a cut and paste, and on this, she didn't even adjust the sign that you guys picked. I found our 5-masted schooner and stuck it in there and actually liked that design. But there was no manipulation of an image towards a finished product. And I looked online at presentations for other things, and they present several different things, and it's based on conversations, but we didn't really get anything with that. So my thing is, there's no imagination that I've seen put into the process.
So my response to that is that's not where we are in the project yet. The point of this last presentation was, can we eliminate an option and start focusing on iterations like you're already doing there
Right.
with those concepts? So that we weren't at this point talking about the font or the color or
That's
whatever.
what we're doing now.
It was more about the concepts. Which concepts did we like? And at this point, we're going to move forward on developing, as you're doing there, iterations, fonts, icons, placement, square or not, things outside of it. And we did have a number of discussions about the concepts, things being out of the box, layers, references to rugs, and so on.
Yeah, but I didn't see anything in that presentation that we were picking from.
And
You
in
know, I saw like, I mean, this was it, not in context with anything. These
so
are, I mean, this just stuck in the corner on a thing. I mean, I looked it up. Some people you could do 5 or 6 images on one page. That's just a quick sketch. That's my point. But, that's all I thought. Either I don't understand the concept, but I didn't think, she didn't put a lot of time into putting that presentation together.
So
did she?
in the follow-up to that meeting, Cindy and I were emailing very briefly about what she's going to present to the public. And
I hope it'd be better than that.
and the 3 concepts that we're talking about here, not colors or fonts, the concepts. These are the phrases that she's using. Concept 1, this is the one where you have the individual letters on a base. Industries and various ways of life via icons. Up to 6 spinning icons to be chosen by community across 2 signs. 5-masted schooner, clam, arts and crafts, etc. And the base is a black steel hull of a ship. That's concept 1. And those are the phrases of that concept that have to do with the ideas that we talked about. Concept 2 is reminiscent of old New England town signs. It has a dynamic frame that floats the name over a land waterscape that's peeking through. So that's the concept of the second sign. The concept of the third sign is inspired by a unique tradition of Waldoboro hooked rugs using sculptural 3D layers of wood with color blocks indicating vast undisturbed land and water distinguishing Waldoboro. So this is based on all of our discussions about the concepts and boiling down language that we can present to the public to see which of these 3 ideas people are most excited about. And at that point, you come up with 15 different versions of that same concept as you're doing there. So that's where we are in this process. Does that concept language make sense to you based on what we were talking
General
about?
public wouldn't follow that, but yeah. I got an art degree and I got trouble with that too. So it's a new language these days, but. Yeah, it's, but it would have been nice to seen that. It would have been nice to seen that instead of this, and then you just pick that one sign.
But I think-
that was my complaint, because I mean, we went through a lot of work for that.
I think the challenge is that there isn't an end product yet. So how can you demonstrate an end product
Yeah,
when we're still trying to figure out which road we're going down? I think that's
We're
the
definitely narrowing down from anything goes to what is the cost of the fabricating a steel base. I mean, we
yeah,
got
do we have a budget for the sign?
we have a budget for the sign, yes.
What's the budget?
For the right now, it started with
And because we're talking about what came from the Friendship Street School sale.
yeah. was 7,500
7,500?
was in the proposal.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
For the concept work.
Yeah,
Concept.
Not
Yeah,
building.
for all of this.
that's the building.
The fabrication will come once we get to.
Yeah. I think that's, makes sense.
Yeah.
But it is a good point, that if you're gonna go to the town with verbiage over a visual, I think it'll be difficult for people to conceptualize what that is. Some people,
And
it will be difficult for them to conceptualize what that is.
my one point to Cindy was when you present the three concepts, it would be great if there was like an A/B image for each one of them, so people don't get the idea that that's the
Going to
thing.
be that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's that's the tough part, is to say it's not this, but it's sort of like this.
It's in this direction.
It's in this
Yeah.
direction,
Yeah.
yeah. The problem is, if you're in the position of being a graphic designer, and you have very limited time, how are you supposed to come up with 8 different versions of 3 different concepts?
Yeah.
When you have no idea if people hate one thing and love another thing,
Yeah.
you sort of need a little bit of feedback before you start down one of these paths. So that's kind of where we are in this. But your complaint has been registered, and we'll take it to the next meeting.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm
All right, that's it.
cracking fingers.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wait,
no, if meeting is adjourned, I was wondering about